I'm Eric Pedersen, and this is my screencast on assessing prior knowledge.
I have to be honest, I don't give pre-tests before we start a chapter or unit. We have a curriculum that spirals, so prior knowledge is often reviewed in our homework. Besides questioning and the spiral and redo in our homework, there are a few ways I'd like to share on how I assess prior knowledge. The first way is Khan Academy. A few weeks ago, I had a student in my honors geometry class ask me if we could review some of the algebra that class had taken last year. A lot of the geometry homework has algebra in it, but I think she was asking for something a little bit more in depth. This is the subject page from Khan Academy. As you can see, Khan Academy has several different subjects available to study. I don't have my students watch the videos, which is what most people think of when they hear the word Khan Academy, but instead I have them do exercises. While my students do these exercises, I can see the progress of my students, because at the beginning of the year, I created a class and had my students add me as their teacher.
This is a page from the course of Algebra 1. On the left-hand side, they have all the different units that are found in the course Algebra 1. In the center of the page, you have the section Solving Equations, which is one of the chapters or units from Algebra 1, and they have about 10 or 12 exercises. Each one of the units on the left is going to have about 10 or 12 exercises that my students can do. This is an example of an exercise from Algebra 1, and the exercise is called Slope from a Graph. On the top left, they ask the question, what's the slope of the line? On the top right, I've answered that question as 4/5, and I've checked it, and Khan said, good job. That's my second one in a row that was correct, and I can tell that by the green dots on the bottom. My students, in order for them to get credit for completing the assignment or exercise, need to get 4 problems in a row correct. I can check their progress by looking at my coaches page, the dashboard, and I can see which students have completed which assignments and which students have not completed each assignment. On the bottom of my page, I have what shows what I'm looking at the top. I often go through and I check a bunch of exercises out. As you can see, there are probably hundreds of exercises from Chapter 1 or from Algebra 1 course, and I can assign them by just clicking that Assign button and picking what class I want to assign it to. I can change the due date for that. So what I did for this my geometry class is about 3 or 4 weeks ago, after my student asked for a little bit of review, I went through the algebra part and I assigned about 7 or 8 assignments. Most of the assignments don't take very long for the students to do, but some of them are a little bit more involved. And what I do is I have Khan Academy days. Every so often, maybe once every other week or once a week, I'll have a day when the students can work on their Khan Academy. I have them work individually at their desks, and I walk around giving them feedback or giving them help if they've forgotten how to do that exercise. But this is a way I can check to see if they remember what they should have learned from last year. And it also is going to help them review for what's coming up next year, because next year they're going to be taking Algebra 2. Another way I assess prior knowledge is by using something called Facing Math. Now let me explain what Facing Math is before I explain the twist I use to help me assess the student's prior knowledge. On the left-hand side of the screen, I have an answer sheet for Facing Math. There are generally between about 21 and 30 problems on Facing Math's answer sheet, depending on the difficulty of the problems. On the right-hand side of the screen, I have a blank template that came from Facing Math. Now here's what I have the students do. I have the students take out a separate sheet of paper, write out the problem, and find the answer for the problem. They're going to do that for each of the 24 problems that they have to do. After they do that, they're going to go back and look at their answers, and their answers are going to explain how they're going to draw the face. For example, it might say if their answer is 3, they're going to draw a square nose. If their answer is 5, they're going to draw a round nose. On another one, it might have, if their answer is -4, they're going to color the shirt brown. If their answer is -3, they're going to color the shirt red. This is an example of a completed Facing Math picture. As you can see, it's kind of fun for students because they are able to combine math with art, drawing, or coloring. I have a couple twists I use with Facing Math to assess students' prior knowledge. I have two Facing Math books that don't have any questions on the answer sheets. A week or two before I give a test, I sometimes tell my students the types of problems that are going to be on the test and then have them write 2 or 3 test questions. I often go through and actually pick out some of these problems for either the review, which is a Facing Math picture or project, or for the test itself. The second way I assess prior knowledge is by having my students in geometry create Facing Math problems for my Algebra 8 students. Just as before, I tell them the types of problems the classes are working on and ask them to write a couple problems each that they can use for Facing Math. I not only have them give me the correct answer, but I also have them find good incorrect answers. My best students try to find a mistake that students might make and use that to find good incorrect answers.